Hello, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live. My name is Chandrakant. Today, we will learn about three different types of leadership style and why three. We will draw your attention to three different individual personality from our history. Three generals who led allies to success during Second World War, which is Eisenhower, Montgomery, and General Patton. What was so different between their leadership style and what make them so successful? All three of them. So before we discuss these different leadership traits, a word on our giveaway. Akulmach works with many SMEs and startups world over, helping them in not only building their sales and marketing teams, but also help them in improving their success rate. As you can see, we have summarized our years of knowledge into these easy to follow steps, which can be used by any smart leader to promote their group or a company. In order to encourage people to take the right step at the right time, we have used this proprietary graph in our corporate memorabilia so that the knowledge can be accessed by whoever, whenever, wherever it is needed. You can become eligible to get one of these beautiful gifts delivered to your doorstep for free. All you need to do is to subscribe our channel and smash that like button. Also, please watch this entire video and provide your valuable comments, suggestions, or you could also share your experiences. Person with the best comment and interaction would be chosen to become a free recipient of one of these displayed items here. In addition, we would invite you to Akulmach Live to participate in our show as a distinguished panelist. What are you waiting for, friends? Go for it. Now, let's get back to our discussion. So, let me invite my guest today. His name is Mike Bradley. He is a very senior person of our industry. He is a chief strategy officer of RHF and Scale Up Arena, and he joins us from UK. We will discuss leadership issues with Mike today. Mike, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Chandra. Good to be here.
Well, Mike, we want to discuss about the leadership trait, and although there are many leaders across the world, but since you have already have global businesses running, and you're also heading the Scale Up Arena, which is a global organization. From your point of view, what is a what defines a leader?
Well, I think I was going to end with this, but I think Steve Jobs summed it up pretty well. He said, management is about persuading people to do the things they do not want to do, while leadership is about inspiring people to do the things they never thought they could do. And I think that sums up leadership, because it's all about inspiring and helping people to achieve things that they never thought they could achieve. So I think it's all about building up and self-esteem, creating an environment where people can achieve their best and achieve things that they actually didn't realize they were capable of. It's sort of like synergy, one and one equaling three. And I think the one is the leader, the other is the person, and together they achieve much more than if they were just on their own. That to me is what leadership's about.
A great answer, Mike. Let me ask you one more thing, which I've seen, from my own experience. A leader is supposed to do strategic thinking, and his team is looking towards the leader for the guidance. And the leader also in a business environment is also reporting to the chief executives or the owner of the company. Now there is always a challenge for leader to strike a balance, how much leadership he should impart, and if he is actually a strategic thinker, the seniors, chief executives or owner of the company do not value that strategic thinking. So there is always a push and pull
for a leader? I think, from your point of view, what is right strategy? Do they do things with their own hands, or they should be a strategy thinkers only?
I believe that the best leaders are the ones that are prepared to roll their own sleeves up. The best leaders of organizations are ones who have gone the hard yards. They started at the bottom. They've learnt and developed through a career to get to the top, because they need to understand what the challenges are within the organization, in the different divisions and departments and areas of the organization, in order to be able to support what's required to achieve their goal, their vision, their strategic objectives. And I think there's always, it's very easy to misinterpret the word strategy, because there's a vision, and the vision is, what the organization is there to achieve. There's the mission, the raison d'etre. What is the role of the entire organization? Why does it exist? What does it do every single day? But then there's the strategy, which says, actually, in 3 years' time, this is where we want to be. Or in a year's time, this is the partner we want to be partnering with. But then there's tactical and operational elements. And I believe those are much more short term and medium term. So, you cannot improve and achieve your strategy without getting the operational elements correct. How do you deliver that strategy? And then what do you have to do today on a tactical level that takes you along the journey towards your strategic goal? So I think we've got to get the understanding of the terminology right in that context. That said, from the organizational perspective, the plan in the next 12 months is the role of the executive. They are to lead the organization to achieving the objectives for the coming 12 months, which hopefully form part of the strategy. Otherwise, it's like setting out to go from Delhi to Chennai and ending up in Mumbai. So you've got to know that you're ending up in Chennai before you leave. Otherwise, you're going to end up somewhere you didn't expect to go. But that said, I mean, being in the tech space, it's that you never actually arrive. So you start on the journey to Chennai, but actually, as you go along the road, things have to change. Maybe you have to switch from train to plane. I think about Microsoft in this context, because Microsoft has been around for almost 40 years, but their product is still changing. They've never arrived. They've never said, "Oh, this is the product finished." Because in tech, if they think that, there'll be another entrant that will take over the market. So products are continually evolving and will continue to evolve. And the job of the executives, I think, and this is where there's sometimes a dichotomy with what you suggested, which is the person at the top thinks, this is what we're going to do, and this is the only way we're going to do it, and we're going to do it my way and nothing else. The problem is that approach, shall we call it, for want of a pleasant term, the approach is not necessarily the wisest one in a dynamic, changing world which we all exist in, because something will be happening that is changing that strategy, that goal, that vision, and the closed-minded team is not going to achieve, whereas an open-minded executive board is going to say, actually, we'll keep listening, we'll keep our eyes open, we'll see what's happening in the marketplace. We'll listen to what our staff are telling us. We're listening to what our clients are telling us, what the market is doing. We'll identify where the direction of the market is going. And we have to move that along. But and I call it, AAA syndrome, corporate AAA is a major issue, because in an executive board, if they get corporate AAA, which is corporate amnesia, corporate asphyxiation, and corporate arrogance, they will end up in the junkyard of multinationals that thought they knew everything and actually have disappeared. What happened to Kodak? They used to be everywhere at one time. They were the photo booth of the world, but they don't exist anymore. What happened to Thompson? The travel chain. What happened to all these different big brands that are no longer around? Because they didn't move with the times. They didn't adapt the model because they were too, stuck in the corporate AAA, which was amnesia. They'd forgotten, because they got these spreadsheets, and this is true of SMEs as well. If you manage by spreadsheet, actually you've forgotten your customer, and that's where the amnesia sets in. They've forgotten that customers make up the spreadsheets. So any executive or leader that doesn't focus on what my customers, my market, and my prospects telling me they want, and partners, any group that takes their eye off of that is actually not going to keep going. They're not going to optimize their potential. The second one is corporate asphyxiation. As you rightly said, there are leaders who perceive themselves as leaders, who think that they have to be in charge and tell everybody what to do. And actually, that autocratic approach means that they no longer breathe fresh air, because they've got so high in the clouds. They're so high in the organization, they no longer talk to customers. They no longer talk to their staff. The people who are actually at ground level being told by their customers, we're not happy with the service. The executive team needs to be listening to that and not just thinking, oh, it's just a grumpy customer, we got plenty more. What they actually need to be saying is, why is my customer upset? Because you can guarantee in this world that there will be other companies who maybe are new, but haven't yet made a big entrance into the scene, who are actually chomping away at those customers. So when they come to be renewed, the customer's going to think, well, they weren't particularly responsive to my problems. They don't care. They just want to take my money. And so that customer then drops off the edge of the customer base. They're transferred to the new entrant. I mean, the banking sector in the UK is classic for this. Nobody had ever heard of Starling Bank before, but now everybody's heard of Starling Bank, because they did things differently. They recognized what the frustrations were, and they addressed the frustrations with the existing incumbents in the marketplace. And the third A is rather obvious: corporate arrogance, which is exactly the point you were making, right? Which is that these executives think that they've arrived. You can't tell us we've got all of these planes around the world, we've got hotel chains, we've got multinationals are great for this. That corporate AAA sort of is part of the stick of rock. If you cut it in half, it's got corporate AAA written inside it. And very few of them actually adapt properly, because they're stuck in these intransigent ways. And the same is true of people. So, not only is it true of the business as an entity, it's also true of the leadership executive team. If they get amnesia and forget that customers and employees are important, if they get asphyxiation and think, I don't need to listen because I know it all, or they get to the point where, oh, I'm at the top, I've got a nice fancy car in a car park, and I don't need to listen to the person driving in on some small two-wheeler, more fool them, because that's not leadership. leadership is galvanizing the skills that you have within the organization, and delegation is the art of good leadership, and listening is the art of good leadership. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we probably should use them in that ratio.
Of course. In fact, when you are talking about leaders and you come from UK, I can straight away think of 3 individuals, and I think which is Montgomery, Patton, and Eisenhower. And these are the 3 different types of leaders. Patton
Mm-hmm.
believed in going out and doing it with his own hands. Eisenhower was a spreadsheet killer. He used to be in his
Mm-hmm.
war room and he used to plan things. And Montgomery is somewhere in between. So I think
Mm.
these 3 characters, we can, derive types of leaders out there and types of challenges they are facing today, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always used to differentiate, and I think this is for me, this has been an important one. You have to differentiate between directors and managers. Directors are leaders, okay? They are people who can galvanize the resources, and a good leader will bring the best people into their team. They won't feel intimidated by having the world's best in their team. They won't feel defensive that, oh dear, maybe this person's perceived to be better than me. Actually, surround yourself with the best. The manager who manages by spreadsheets and KPIs is going to just surround himself with mediocre people who just meet the numbers. Personally, I want to deal with the extraordinary. I'd rather have the extraordinary team who are continually challenging, continually saying, what about this? Shouldn't we be doing that? Looking for the ways to differentiate value rather than, oh, well, we've arrived, we've achieved, we've just got to do our X calls per day, we just got to do our X leads per day, and then I'll clock off at 5 o'clock and go home. I'm not interested in 9 to 5ers. If somebody can do their job in 2 hours, they can do it in 2 hours, as far as I'm concerned. And some days they might have to work 18 hours. It's not about the number of hours you do or the way you change your desk. It's whether you actually deliver a result and you take pride in ensuring success. And that is, again, I think, where the leaders and the directors can galvanize the organization and the individuals within it around their vision, around their mission, around their raison d'etre. Because, I always think that if you think back to the military, okay, who would you want to follow? Would you want to follow the guy who's sitting there counting out the spreadsheets? Or would you want to follow the guy who's actually saying, right, follow me, guys, we're going to go take this tower. We're going to go and conquer this. And I know which one I want to be following. I want to be following the one who's conquering the world, not the one who's sitting there thinking, oh, well, let's have a plan and let's strategize and let's come up with a couple of KPIs. If you fire 3 bullets from over there and you fire 3 bullets, you've done the job. The people who are going to succeed are the ones who are galvanizing people. And I think, there was the, I always call it the 3 E's are the keys to ensuring success is endearment, endeavor, and endurance. So you've got to be able to relate to people. No, forget the politics, forget the, trying to be superior, just get the best out of your people, work with your people. They're all individuals. They've all got skills. As a leader, you're trying to find those skills and make use of them for their good, for your good, and for the organization's good. Secondly, endeavor, it comes from work. If somebody's just sitting there thinking, well, all I've got to do today is I've got to fill out this form and push it from that side of the desk to the next side of the desk, that's never going to help. What's going to help is somebody saying, actually, I can do this better. We should be doing it this way. and really working for the right to improve value, improve service, improve delivery. Those are the sort of people that leaders should be looking for in their organization. And then finally, endurance, of course, is, the ability to keep going when you get a kickback, when you get a knock, is not giving up, but just keeping going. And again, I think that's where, for me, that's what the leader is supposed to be doing. The leader is the person who will bring the best out in people, because he'll encourage that person and praise that person. And when they come to correct, it's not with a whip. It's like, this is how I can help you to do a better job, to achieve more. It's a coaching environment rather than a cajoling or a negative environment. There was a book many years ago, I don't know if you ever read it, Chandra, called 1 Minute Manager.
Oh yeah.
Written by Kenneth Blanchard. I love that book. I mean, very simplistic in some ways, but actually sometimes the simplest methods and simplest things are the best things. And one of the statements in that book, one of the catchphrases to remember was, if you want to help people achieve their best, catch them doing something right. If you want to get people to do more good things, make them feel good about themselves. It's not about beating people with a stick. That's never going to help. All people are going to do is get upset or get demotivated, look for another job. But actually, your job as a leader is to make sure you get the best out of them. And the only way you do that is by encouraging them and saying, what you did then was absolutely brilliant. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So I think that's really important. The other thing I think a good leader does is, and this is again about being open-minded, listening, not thinking you know everything, but you've got to be open-minded to find out what the roadblocks are, what's preventing success, or what is slowing up potential. And so the other role of a leader and a leadership team, in my view, is to oil the wheels of the organization, to ensure that the staff are not, and the employees are not being impeded in their role by internal politics, by wrong processes and procedures, by competitive advantages that aren't being addressed. So it's really important, I think, for a leader to be open-minded and also ensure that their role is to keep the team well oiled and fed. Going back to the military again, I think that was always one of the roles of a military leader. If a squadron or a troop was not fed properly, they wouldn't be able to sustain their role. They wouldn't have the energy for the fight. So one of the most important things to do was to keep people fed, keep oiling the wheels, make sure they feel comfortable, because then they can achieve a lot more than if they are not properly nourished. And so the job of the leader is to nourish the team.
Well, Mike, I think you have given a lot of inputs which are very, very important and valuable. I have just come to a last question, and it's about conflict management. And you yourself mentioned some time back that if you have a smart team and everybody is smart in your team, then obviously there is bound to be conflict of ideas. Some people may say go left, some people will say go right, and leader has to balance it out. What is the best strategy to manage this conflict?
I think it depends on what the subject is, to be honest with you. I believe that you can, I call it anonymized brainstorming. I think if you've got a real conflict of interest, let's say your team, like you say, one team wants to go right, one part of the team, equally intelligent argument, wants to go left. My view is at that point you resort to what I call anonymized brainstorming, which is where you have to talk to each individual and identify from them what their view is of what the top priorities should be. And then come back to the team collectively and say, well, look, having individually spoken with everybody, these are what deemed to be the top 3 priorities. And therefore, this is the strategy we've got to adopt. But by making it anonymized, doing it individually, I think it protects the sensitivities, the self-esteem, the ideas across the group, so that everyone thinks, well, I've had a contribution, I've had my say, and actually this is now what the collective group has agreed to be the right priority. So I would do it that way. I think you very much have to respect people's intellect, and this is about having a good team. Yeah. So you respect their views, respect their intellect, and actually utilize the collective intellect to make the decision.
The problem I see as an individual is that if somebody is saying, "Hey, let's go left," and the other guy is saying, "Let's go right," and both are stubborn, then the leader has to really, they have to move away from the democratic values and they have to make a call. So I think that is where what you're saying is that the balanced call is required, and for that, experience is also required, because you should be able to take the right call.
Yeah, and I think, and then ultimately, I think what comes back to the group is we've had a collective discussion. We've therefore identified this is what the top priorities are, and therefore that's what we're going to do. So get on board.
Well, I think we have learned a lot, Mike. It has been a great pleasure talking to you about leadership. I think
Thank you.
many people will get a lot of value from this discussion. They can relate to their situation, and they will find the solution for the problem which they may be facing. So I will catch up with you in the next session with you next week.
Look forward to that.
I'd like to say goodbye for now.
Have a great day, Chandra, or good evening, I should say.
Bye-bye.